So at the top of the page it says Richard Leiber. And it says he was born in 1869 to 1944. Richard Leiber was born in Germany. In 1891, when he was 22 years old, he moved to Indiana. He held many jobs, but he was really interested in protecting nature. Leiber began a career in conservation. Who remembers what conservation is? Lincoln?
Protecting the environment.
Good. Protecting the environment, and conserving means to use less of or to reuse stuff, right? So and that protects the environment, right? Because conserving would be like if we didn't waste as much water or if we reuse things, right? So like you guys see when I empty a water bottle, I clean it off and then I keep it to use to water things or for projects and things like that, right? That way it's getting reused. Yeah.
Reusing those baby bottles is
Exactly. We're reusing the baby bottles and the formula jars, right? And that's conserving because we didn't just throw them away. Our friend saved 300 baby jars from going in the trash. So, all right. In 1919, he was appointed the first director of the Indiana State Department of Conservation. At one time, Leiber visited a friend in Brown County, Indiana. The area's great beauty amazed him. During this visit, he said he heard the call to build our Indiana State Parks. Leiber worked with Juliet Strauss to help save Turkey Run Forest. He wanted it to be a part of a statewide park system. He hoped that the parks would encourage Indiana citizens to protect our state's natural resources. He also felt that the state's parks would help the people of Indiana. He thought that the chief purpose of state parks is to refresh the strengthen and renew tired people and fit them for a common round of daily life. So he was part of saving the park system, okay? So now look at page 34. Look at page 34, turn the page. Citizen heroes, taking action. What is one way to show respect for the environment? And says to use a talent you have to protect a natural resource from destruction. Read about Julia Strauss, who used her talent for writing to start a campaign to save a forest in Indiana. So she used her writing talent to convince people and convince the state to protect this area, right? So everyone follow along. As a child, Juliet Strauss played in the forest near her home in Rockville. The woods were known as Turkey Run. In 1915, Strauss heard that a timber company might buy Turkey Run. Timber companies were companies that would go buy out a section of trees, like a big forest, cut them down, and use that wood to build houses, for construction things, for paper, for just firewood. Timber was used for anything, right? Especially then. It was used for a lot of buildings. She didn't want to see the forest cut down, but by then she was writing articles for magazines. She decided to use her writing skills to help save the forest. Governor Sam Ralston agreed to help. A committee was set up to raise money to buy the forest. The land was to be sold in May 1916. At the auction, Strauss's committee and the timber company both bid on the land. So she was bidding against the timber company to buy out Turkey Run. Okay? The price rose higher and higher. Finally, the timber company raised the bid to another $100. Strauss's committee could not go any higher. The forest was sold to the timber company. Strauss was heartbroken at the loss of the forest. "I am sick of soul," she told a friend. She went on to say, "Who would have dreamed that a few men's dollars could step in and destroy all this, the most beautiful spot in all Indiana, one that all the money in the world could not restore once it is gone?" Strauss refused to give up. She raised more money and tried to convince the timber company to sell the land. Finally, in November of 1916, the Huger Veneer Company agreed to sell the forest to Strauss and her committee for a $10,000 profit. So the timber company, they had bought it, right? But they bought it then Strauss bought it for $10,000 more than what the timber company had paid for it. Okay? So she and her committee were very determined to raise enough money to save the forest, right? Turkey Run soon became Indiana's second state park. Juliet Strauss's respect for nature saved a precious resource. She wanted future generations to be able to enjoy and learn from nature, just as she and her family had done. Okay? So now turn the page again. Now we're looking at Natural Indiana, Lesson 3. We're on page 36. Make sure you're on page 36. Make sure you're on page 36. All right. Remember, listen to the you are there section. You wake up on a bright, cold January morning. Today, your family has planned a hike in Hoosier National Forest. As you pull on your heavy winter clothes, you think of a steamy days of summer. You remember playing in the hot July sun. Now the warmth of summer seems very far away. You wonder if all of Indiana is cold today, or if the weather is different in another part of the state. Finally, everyone is ready to go. You remember to bring along a book that lists animal tracks. You good, sweet? You'll use it to identify tracks you find in the snow. You want to learn about the creatures that walk in Indiana woods in the wintertime. Okay, taking Indiana's temperature. Are we going to put a thermometer on its forehead and check its temperature like what happens to you guys when you guys come into school? No. But there are other ways to check the temperature, right? Climate and weather are different. Weather changes from day to day. Climate is the pattern of weather in a region over a long period. It is the kind of weather an area has year after year. Indiana has a temperate climate. Temperate climate. That is, our weather changes with the 4 seasons. But it is usually not extremely hot or extremely cold. So my sister lives in Texas, okay? She was born and raised here, but her husband's in the Air Force, so they live in Texas. And when we were still having 50 and 60 degrees weather in like March and April and even the beginning of May, it was like 80 degrees where she is. And that was when we were maybe 60 degrees up here. Okay? So it gets hot down there. It gets in the 100 degrees. And if we get a 100-degree day, everyone's like, stay inside, right? But when she told me, you know how when we get like 5 inches of snow, we're like, oh, we'll plow the roads and you'll be fine. We still have school and work and all that stuff. But no, I'm not looking at someone. So, but in Texas, since it's hot, they don't have big plow trucks and salt trucks like we do for the winter time, right? To keep the roads from being slick. So, if they even get like an inch of snow or a half an inch of snow, if it's on the roads, everything's shut down because they don't have the equipment to deal with it. We have cold weather and warm weather, right? But we're also not like up in Michigan or even parts of New York where they get feet of snow. So we could get like a foot of snow and they get like 5 feet of snow, right? So that's why we're a temperate climate, okay? Indiana's distance from the equator is one reason for our temperate climate. Places close to the equator are usually warmest throughout the year because the sun shines strongest there. Places far from the equator, like the poles, are the coldest. That's why Indiana has a warmer climate than many places to the north and a cooler climate than places to the south. We have warm, humid summers and chilly winters. Southern Indiana is slightly warmer than northern Indiana. Precipitation, everyone say precipitation.
Precipitation.
Which includes rain, sleet, and snow, is always a part of the climate. The southern part of Indiana gets the most rain each year. The northern region, especially around Lake Michigan, gets more snow. The average snowfall for Indiana is 20 inches a year, but the northern border often gets more than 100 inches a year. Lake Michigan affects the climate of northwest Indiana. In the fall, the lake's water remains warm from the summer. This warms the air above the lake and keeps temperatures mild. But in the spring, the water stays cold from the winter. This cools the air and keeps the temperatures lower. All right, turn the page. We're on plants in Indiana. You've probably noticed the colorful wildflowers that grow along many roads in our state. Most of these flowers are common plants such as goldenrod, clover, and violets. You can find many of these plants growing all over North America. But not all of Indiana's plants and flowers are common. Our state holds a few surprises. Pitcher plants, sundews, and bladderworts grow in Pinhook Bog near Lake Michigan. These plants may look harmless, but to some creatures they are not. Fortunately, we do not need to worry. These plants catch only insects. The dunes in northern Indiana are home to many unusual plants living side by side. Follow along, please. Mosses, usually found in the Arctic, grow in the dunes. So do orchids, usually found in tropical areas. Wetlands, loosestrife, grows in the dunes. As its name suggests, it usually grows in damp areas. On the other hand, desert cactus grow there too. The dunes provide a home to many rare plants and ferns. So what that's saying is the sand dunes in northern Indiana have a lot of plants that wouldn't typically grow there. Like some cactus that would grow in the desert, grow there. Some things that grow in the Arctic, grow there. Okay? So it's just kind of weird because they have a good temperate climate that can be a home to plants that not all of Indiana can be home to. Make sense? The dunes environment continues to change. As plants find homes there, they change the environment. For example, they make shade where there used to be sun. Other shade-loving plants then find homes in the newly shaded areas. From flowers to corn. We all know about corn around here, right? Mm-hmm. Indiana has two kinds of vegetation, natural and cultivated. Everyone say vegetation.
Vegetation.
Because that word's not vegetables, it's vegetation. Many of our wildflowers, trees, grasses, vines, and bushes are examples of natural vegetation. Those are things that grow naturally, right? They grow naturally without help from people. Natural vegetation is very important. This is why it is important, so everyone listen. It helps prevent the soil erosion. It can add nutrients or nourishing ingredients to the soil. So those natural plants give nutrients to the soil, okay? The nutrients help plants grow, and natural vegetation also provides wildlife with food and shelter. So it helps the soil, it helps keep the soil from washing away from the rain, and it feeds the wildlife, right, and gives them shelter. Other plants that grow in Indiana are cultivated. Cultivated vegetation is planted and cared for by people to help it grow. Corn is our most important cultivated crop. People have been growing corn here since prehistoric times. So, a cultivated means that someone is planting it and taking care of it, okay? We grow most of our corn in northwest and central Indiana. We are central Indiana, okay? People all over the country eat Indiana corn when they snack on popcorn or eat corn cereal for breakfast. Cornstarch and corn syrup are ingredients in many foods. Farmers also feed corn to their hogs, cattle, and chickens. So Indiana corn goes all over the country, okay? And it's made into popcorn, cornstarch, corn syrup, cereal. It goes everywhere, okay? During the 1920s, many farmers decided to grow soybeans. That's our other popular crop, right? At first, people mainly used the crop to feed animals. Then, during World War II, people started using soybean oil to replace products they could not get because of the war. Today, soybeans are Indiana's second most valuable crop. Wheat follows in third place. Okay. Turn the page. Now we get to talk about the animals. Wild Indiana. If you walk very quietly through Hoosier National Forest, you'll probably spot some of Indiana's wild animals. You might glimpse a deer or a coyote. A red fox might run by. You can often see hawks flying overhead. If you look carefully, you might see a beaver or a skunk. Once these animals moved freely, now protected areas such as state and national parks provide safe homes for them. Years ago, our large mammals such as black bears and elk lived in Indiana, but they slowly disappeared. People hunted these animals. Also, when people cleared land for farming and housing, they destroyed the animals' habitats. A habitat is a place where an animal naturally lives and grows. Now, other animals are close to disappearing from the state. We rarely see bobcats and badgers here. Indiana bats are getting harder to find. The number of river otters living in Indiana is low. If you travel through Indiana's lake regions, you can see many interesting birds and waterfowl. You might see a great blue heron standing near the dunes. You might find black ducks nesting. Our state bird is the cardinal, but horned owls, wild turkeys, and bluebirds also call Indiana home. Bald eagles live in Indiana, but there are a few of them living here or anywhere in the United States. Some Hoosiers are working to help the eagle population grow. All right.